showtime. It's showtime. We are live. Welcome to episode 4 of Talk of the Trades. This is the first series of this podcast, and this is the second time we are joined by a guest. Without further ado, let's introduce the one, the only Carboot Chris. Let's give him a round of applause, everybody.
Thank you, Tommy. Thank you for having me on. Very kind of you to invite me.
Yeah. It's funny how it works out, doesn't it? Like you reached out to me just as I was trying to fill the spot for the guest, and
that's it.
It perfectly fits together.
We swapped podcasts. You came on mine, and so I've thought I need to repay the favor.
It's highly appreciated, and a pleasure to have you here. So let people know, if they don't know you already, who are you? What do you like to sell?
I'm Chris. I've been a full-time reseller since around 2019. Part-time since 2015. Prior to that, done a variety of jobs. Had my own shop in the early 2000s, which early reselling before really the internet was anything. And I sell all kinds of stuff. I'm an everything seller, so I always believe that it's probably better to be an everything seller than a niche seller, unless you are a true expert in something. But yeah, that's me basically. And you can find me on YouTube. You can find me on every social that you can think of.
I love that, spreading your name far and wide.
That's what you got to do.
It's interesting you say you started with a shop. I didn't know that was part of your reselling journey or selling journey. What was it? What was the shop called? What were you specializing in, if anything?
It was 2001 to 2003. I had a high street shop in Stockport town centre.
Right.
And it was called Entertainment Exchange, with the exchange as an X, like that, exchange. A little bit like a small independent sort of CX, where you come in and you trade in games. You can trade in DVDs. At the time, I was still trading in VHS, consoles, PlayStation. PlayStation was a big thing at the time. Dreamcast was big at the time as well. But yeah, I used to just trade in, trade out, and basically a high street version of what I do now.
Right. And did you have like massive overheads and things? And was that
it was an absolute killer, really. It was a killer. Had a lot of competition as well. If you can imagine, at the time, you have Game and Game Station on the high street. It actually had shops
now, isn't it?
Next door to each other. You had Argos, who were doing who were selling games at less than what you could buy them at wholesale. It was crazy. Argos at the time, Argos was selling brand new releases for I can't remember if it was maybe, I don't know which PlayStation we were on at that point, but they were selling new release PlayStation games at $29.99, and I couldn't buy them for that price from a wholesaler. It's like I used to go up to Argos, buy their games, put them in my shop. It's what we do now. It's retail arbitrage, but it didn't have that name. We didn't know it as retail arbitrage back then. Who made up that word? I haven't got a clue.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, it's funny how like things sort of start out, and then the more people that start doing them, it becomes a like way of business entirely. And now you have people sort of with courses and everything to sort of teach you how to do retail arbitrage as a specific thing. Yeah. And like I've done a little bit of it myself, like here and there. I've never done a like major trip to a Sainsbury's or anything when they're doing the reductions on Lego and all their toys. I've tried to get there, and then I always seem to miss it all and find just like a thing left over. And the same with like TK Maxx, where they have their yellow sticker sales and everything goes on huge reductions. I did try and go to one when I thought it was on, but it was actually a Matalan. So I walked in and I was wandering around like, where's all the yellow stickers? But yeah, I was in a Matalan, not TK Maxx.
Yeah. I've done the TK Maxx thing before, but what I find is a couple of bad points about it. Firstly, it ties up a lot of your cash flow. Like if you go all in on it, it still costs you a lot of money, even though there's potential profit to be made. And also what I found is that stuff can be quite long tail, like very,
Mm.
I didn't find that stuff was flipping quickly. So you tied up a lot of cash for quite a long period of time whilst you wait for it to sell. So I kind of I didn't rush out. I didn't even bother. I mean, I went and had a look in a couple of ones
Mhm.
just in our leisure time, but I didn't make a special trip out, during my working day to go to a TK Maxx. I just didn't feel like it was worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw like quite a lot of videos of people going out, doing a trip of it, spending like a fair amount of money in there to pick up like a handful of items, is what it seems.
Yeah,
And like they might be quality items with quality brands and things behind them, but as you say, it is like sort of tying up a lot of cash
yeah,
into just a handful of items, and like you only really get that back once they all sell. Because
yeah,
you might have to sell like half of them just to get to how much you originally spent in the first place.
yeah, definitely, yeah.
I will just check in and say hello to everyone who's joined us. Briefly, we've got Jeff Davis in. Good morning to you, or good afternoon. I'm used to this being at 11 a.m., but it is the afternoon at this point. Secret Carper, good afternoon.
It's
Limelight,
morning for Jeff,
afternoon.
by the way. It's morning for Jeff.
Morning to you, Jeff. See, I did have it right. I did have it right. Afternoon, Money Mental. Good to see you in. Fluffy Muffin, Husty's Emporium. Lisa, welcome in. VHS, are you an old man?
I am, yeah, unfortunately, yeah. Thanks for that.
What's this? Chris only allowed Bell to update VHS player to a DVD player last year. He's hoping to get a Blu-ray player by 2023. Emsden, welcome in. Flipper Lee, Salvage Kicks, Gentleman Marketer. I know, I can't believe I ended up in a Matalan.
How did you even end up in Matalan? Can you not read the sign on the way in? Come on.
It's like we've got a little sort of rink of shops just down the road. There's like an Asda and like a few other ones. And there was always in my mind, there was a TK Maxx there. Like since I can remember. But what happened was it used to be next to Asda and it got shut down and it's now a B&M. And then opposite that is the Matalan. So I just got confused thinking that it was still standing because it's red and white that's on the sign.
That's true, yeah, I suppose.
Money Mental spent 4K in TK Maxx in 2020. TK Maxx is the king. Sheesh. That's
a lot of cash flow tied up in some high end stuff, and I appreciate that a lot of it probably sold and he made a lot of money, Andrew. But I wouldn't do it personally. I wouldn't do that. I just feel like that's a lot tied up.
interesting. I think that's a good one to sort of bring me on to like one of the questions I've got for you with like how much cash is it good to tie up in one go? Like if you were to go out like sourcing for the day, for example, whether that's like sitting at home on Vinted, whether that's out at a Carboot sale, whether that's in charity shops, what's like, in your opinion, what would be a big budget compared to an average budget or an appropriate budget? Do you sort of set yourself like £100 today, or is it if the deal's good enough, you're happy to pay out as much as you need to pay out?
I guess it depends on your bank balance, doesn't it? At the end of the day, it depends what you've got available to spend. If you've got a few grand in your business account and you feel like things are ticking over well enough for you to spend it and it will come back, then go as far as you can.
Mm.
But like if I'm at a boot sale, I'll typically take out £200 or £300 and take that with me. And if it's going really well, go to a bank and come back again. But generally, kind of that's what I'd spend at a boot sale. But it's so personal to everybody, that question, because it's going to depend very much on your own circumstances. Some people, I don't know yours, you don't have to disclose that, but some sellers are bringing in the money and living for the bills and not really having the cash flow there at all. But then there's other people who have got a healthy bank balance and can afford to go and splash out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as an example, I kind of made a bit of a mistake myself over this last few weeks. I was debating because I did have a pretty reasonable sort of business bank balance, right, up until recently. And I was speaking to Aaron because they didn't quite understand how it works. Aaron, the QuickBooks chap.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't quite understand how it works. Like if I wanted to invest some of my business bank balance so that it was working for me instead of sitting in my bank. So he just said, well, basically, that, as a sole trader, that's just your money. Just it's your profit. So you can do with it essentially what you want. So a couple of weeks ago, I decided to draw out a big chunk of what I had in there, and put it into, I can't remember if I put it in premium bonds or an investment or something. I put it into something so that it's working for me, because there's no point in just sat there just not earning anything. But now, over the last 2 weeks since I drew that out, I left myself a buffer, but it wasn't enough. So cash flow wise, I've left myself a bit short cash flow. So I've been buying loads of different clothing bundles. There's been so many offers. It seems like these offers weren't around when I had a nice chunky bank balance. But now I've taken it out, it's like I've been buying. I've had 2 messages from people on my WhatsApp offering me job lots. And I'm like, oh Jesus, I've left myself a little bit short now. So then that's cash flow is so hard to manage. It's like on one side of it, I want the cash in my account to work for me and earn some money rather than sit there. But on the other side, you just don't know when the next deal's coming along.
That is such a good
Impossible
point
to answer.
Yeah, it's such a good point to make, because like for my situation, I was very much in, it was going really, really well, and I was building up myself a nice little savings pot. Finally sort of getting out of that paying the bills and resetting to zero every month. I was finally getting out of that and building up a nice sort of balance. And then I completely didn't do my tax right, or didn't calculate for my tax right with my earnings from my eBay business, because I was earning more than that in my previous job when I was a video editor. And the way that that contract was set up was completely different than where I am now. And I basically just wasn't accounting for tax properly at that time. Still sort of new to figuring this whole thing out.
Yeah.
And when this sort of year turned over, I had to sort of put all of the cash that I'd been able to build up in my balance to pay off my tax bill. So I've essentially reset myself to zero again at the moment. And I'm now sort of trying not to go sourcing as much as I need to, like as much as I want to, I mean. I need to go sourcing when I need to if I'm ever running out of stock, but I'm trying not to, so that I can just keep selling through the items that I already have, work through my backlog of stock, and then get myself to be as cash flow sort of rich as possible. For either the next deal to come along, or to for the next deal, and to give myself a little bit of a buffer. I'm sort of trying to learn that if I do one, then I'm exposing myself to the other one. So if I just leave loads of cash there to sort of be my emergency pot, then great, it's there as an emergency pot, but I can't put that into the next deal that comes along. So it's like one or the other for me at the moment. But I think the more I can focus on just building up my account, the more options I'll have. Like as you're saying there, it's like, if you actually have the cash, you can decide what you want to do with it, whether I want to put it into an investment, whether I want to keep it as an emergency fund, whether I want to buy a 4 grand loads of TK Maxx, as Money Mental does. But it's without having it there, you don't really have the option. You sort of have to do what you have to do. And I very much felt that recently, of like, beggars can't be choosers. I've just got to deal with, I've got to list whatever I've got, and I've got to sell what I have, and I have to accept the prices that people are offering. I can't always wait around for the highest price to come in and sit on all of my stock for it to sell at the maximum value. It's trying to learn to take some of the cash all the time, rather than wait for all of the cash some of the time.
Yeah. Having a high street shop, this kind of goes back to how we started. Having a high street shop is crippling for your cash flow. Absolutely kills you, because you've got these massive bills coming in, and there's a few people we know, like Z and that, he'll be able to probably, understand this as well. It's like you've got your rent to pay, your rates, which is at the time was roughly half your rent. So I don't know what it is now these days. It's different everywhere you go, and then you've got all your electric bills and your water bills, and there's all kinds of hidden bills and stuff that you've got to pay. And when they come in, it absolutely kills your cash flow if you're not doing an amazingly well sales,
Mm.
with sales in the shop. And at the time, I wasn't even selling online. I was starting to source a little bit online,
Mm.
picking up stuff. I don't know if you're probably too young to remember, but does anyone in the chat remember play.com?
I feel like I remember it, but briefly, very briefly.
Play.com was one of the first, like, along with Amazon, like, places where you could actually buy like DVDs, computer
Mm.
games, and there were pretty good deals. And I used to buy tons of stock from play.com. They used to have these big deals on where you'd get 5 DVDs for £10. I'd have these. They used to send them all out in one jiffy, each one in a jiffy, and they'd come through the door, and I'd have a big stack of this stock coming through the door, and then I'd put them on. Yeah, they were in the Channel Islands. Yeah. I'd put them on, in my shop for sale, and again, retail arbitrage. But
Mm.
yeah, that was really difficult cash flow wise, running a high street shop, and I think I learned a lot from that, because it's partly why now I always tell people, try and have multiple income streams, because
Mhm.
it helps you even out the bumps in the road. Like back then, the high street shop, the shop I was running, that was it, one income stream.
Yeah.
I wasn't selling online. I wasn't selling on in platform. There was no other platforms to sell on really at the time. It was all very new. 2001. I mean, eBay was only a few years old, and multiple income streams is, if I'd have been able to do that back then, I probably would have been able to keep the shop, and in
Yeah.
hindsight, I probably should have been selling on eBay, but I didn't, and it was probably the downfall at the time.
Hindsight's always a beautiful
Yeah.
thing, isn't it?
No regrets, never regret anything in life.
Yeah. No, it is a strange sort of one of like how having to diversify yourself to have the multiple income streams, but also like I can imagine with what you're saying about how you decided to take that cash out. That's because you've gotten used to how much sort of your business is
Yeah,
producing each month.
yeah,
And as you've said sort of recently, like sales have been a bit slow for you,
yeah.
things have been on a bit of the down, and it's much harder to sort of anticipate like that was going to happen when you've
Mm,
had sort of an average over the past however many years that you've been doing it. You've been able to figure out your averages, and then when you have that dip, it really sort of hits you hard because you haven't prepared for that dip. You're working off of the average that you've set. And I remember asking you before about sort of like how you set up your payments to yourself and like how you pay yourself, and you do that sort of like once every 2 weeks or once a week. And you were saying like you want to move it to once a month.
I pay
My
myself once
husband,
a month, basically, but
right, yeah,
on
and like I'm trying to
eBay,
do
the
the same.
payouts are once a week, but
Yeah,
I have considered switching that to once a month.
right. I see what you mean. So you've got the eBay money coming in, but then you pay yourself out once a month.
Yeah,
So then that way you can figure out how much there actually is. Whereas with my situation, when I was doing like daily payouts and the money's coming in and basically going out the next day because there was something that needed to happen, there was no room for anything else. Like it was tied up. The money was already tied up. Like and I couldn't really figure out how much am I gonna set aside to pay myself as a wage. Like I
mm,
couldn't really figure out the averages because one month was super high, the next month was super low. And like hearing you say that you sort of pay yourself this flat amount each month, I got really confused of how that actually works, because in my experience it's been a different, I'm earning a different amount every single month because it's up and it's down. And um, is it looking at it from like a zoomed out perspective by
yeah,
giving it that month to sort of, if one week's down, you might pick it up in the next week? Or as you were saying, by having multiple income streams, like not just selling on eBay, selling on other platforms as well to help pick up the slack when it is
yeah.
slowing down.
Ultimately, it's like the multiple income streams help you sort of get to that point of like bringing in, you need to bring it, it's simple business. You've got to bring in considerably more than what you're spending to make your money. And the cash flow thing, what situation brought you into reselling? I can't remember, Tommy. Did you get thrown into it, or did you have time?
So I started buying things part-time when I was working in my full-time video editing job. And with like the money that I was earning there, I would sort of go out to charity shops for fun and find things to sort of build up my collection, but also sort of thinking like, oh, that would be good for me to sell on eBay. And then I just never made the time to actually list any of those things.
Mm.
And then at the start of last year, I sort of lost that contract and just thought I either go and look for another job or I just jump into going full time with
So
this.
you were kind of forced to kind of jump in. Whereas you
Yeah.
see the situation I was in, like 2015 to 2019, I was part time. So I
Mm.
spent 4 years building the business, just never, hardly ever taking anything out. Yeah, I
Yeah.
had a couple of holidays out of it, but other than that, I didn't take nothing out for myself because I had a full time job. I didn't need it.
Mhm.
So I was plowing it back in. I was just buying stock, buying infrastructure for the business, buying a laptop, buying a printer, buying the lighting, buying the backdrops, buying whatever is required whilst you're part time. And when you
Mhm.
go full time, you don't need to buy any of that stuff. All the big purchases are done until they need upgrading. By that time, you should be flying anyway.
Yeah.
But like that period of 4 years gave me a time to build a buffer as well as purchasing stock and stuff. I was just
Yeah.
leaving money in the bank. So when I went full time, I probably had 4 or 5 grand in the bank,
Mm.
like just sat, ready to spend. It was there if things, because I said to Belle, I said, if things don't go well as a full time, I've got 4 or 5 grand there, which is maybe 3, 4 months worth,
Yeah.
of basic months. I can get away with it if it's crap,
Yeah.
while I look for a job. And luckily, it went okay. But I think that's what you've missed is the chance to
Yeah.
build that up. So getting thrown in at the deep end almost means that if I'd have started in 2015 full time, it would have been very difficult,
Mm.
like without that part time period, because you've got to manage buying your infrastructure, buying your stock, and getting a wage out of it. And that is what you're struggling with.
Yeah.
But there's no way around it other than to just work your ass off until you can get that cash flow up. You need to get your cash flow like above like a decent number, and that's going to take
Yeah.
time.
You hit the nail on
Multiple,
the head.
multiple streams is the way to go. But you're already there. You're doing Whatnot. You're doing eBay. You're doing Vinted. You're doing YouTube. You're already, partly there.
Yeah.
So got to keep going and keep doing it. And Whatnot, for all its faults, does help with that.
Definitely. And like that's what I wanted to say about Whatnot is like it's not for me, I don't think I could run my entire business as that being the main platform.
No.
I don't have the system set up or the relationships or the stock networks to be able to get that much in and be live every day to sell that many every day. I'm just not there yet. Like maybe one day in the future, but I'm well away, nowhere near doing that. But it is good for me to sort of do a show maybe once a fortnight, once a week, if
Exactly.
the stuff's there. Either to sort of do a clear out of things that haven't sold for me on the other platforms like eBay or Vinted. And it's not necessarily that it's bad stock or that it's a bad item, it just hasn't sold for me. And I'm trying to decide more and more now to like not just hang on to all of these things that I might have purchased a year ago. And I've been doing that out of like scarcity and not having the excess funds to be like, well, if I just cull my store of 200 items, well, that's 200 items that now can't sell that I originally spent money on that, yeah, I'm going to sell them on Whatnot and hopefully get some money back. But I'm essentially going to be selling them at the price I either bought them for
Yeah.
or at a loss the majority of the time.
Yeah.
And it's just to sort of bring some funds back in so that I'm not having to just donate them and get nothing for it.
Yeah.
But it really does help pick up the slack for when, especially for the first start of this year, where my eBay has been really slow to get going again. It's only started getting going again this past sort of week, and I'm now feeling like, right, I don't need to do an emergency whatnot show to sort of
Yeah.
bring in additional funds. It's like the business is actually performing again as it was performing before, when I was seeing a consistent average. And now I just need it to keep doing that, basically, so I can then rely on it. But this is what I've sort of been realizing, is I can't be overly reliant on eBay because it is such a roller coaster.
Yeah.
And spreading ourselves to the different platforms is the way to sort of protect ourselves against that, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I think the way I look at it with the different platforms is like, if I've got something that I've had for ages on eBay and it's at £20 and it, you know, I've had it for 6 months, 12 months and it's
Mm,
not moving, right? £20 on eBay, it's not selling. So you've got two options. In my business model, I've got two options. Well, I've got more than two, but two to get some money back.
mhm,
It can go on Vinted for £10, half the price, put it on Vinted for a tenner. Or you can, well, you can wait. You could end up waiting a month on Vinted to
mhm.
get it for a tenner. Or you can put it on Whatnot and just see what happens. It might
Yeah.
only go for a fiver on Whatnot, but you get the money there and then it's gone. It's
Mhm,
done. So it's like, yeah, I might have paid £1 or £2 for it, so only making a small profit on Whatnot, a
mhm,
moderately higher profit on Vinted, and a much bigger profit on eBay. But it's like, do you need to free up that money? And if you do,
mhm,
then there's different options there. And I do a regular cull of my eBay, so I don't want to sell anything under £10 on eBay,
mhm.
really, and I don't want to start by listing anything under 20. I do break that rule occasionally if I've got like a multi-buy, like 10 items I might do
Yeah,
for
yeah.
£15. I might do that because it's worth it. But I don't really want to list anything under 20, and I don't really want to sell anything under 10 because by the time you've discounted after a few times, it does go down sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
So then that's kind of how I work it, and seems to work. But sometimes I just get a job lot of stuff and I just bang it straight on Whatnot because I think to myself, it's perfect for Whatnot, the
Mm,
audience. The buy price is cheap enough to start at £3 and still make money if it ends at £3.
yeah.
And just clear it out, get it in, clear it out, and get your cash in quickly for a
Mhm,
quick hit.
mhm.
And I think it does have its place for that.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. It shouldn't be sniffed at. Like, I think they could definitely be doing more as a
Mm,
platform to, like, market themselves and get their word out there and, like, really make it, like, have its own place, because I think Whatnot is unique. Like,
yeah,
it is different than the other selling platforms. It's like that mixture of a social platform and a selling platform all in one place, where you're live and you're talking and you're connecting with your community, but you're also selling to them and you're getting followers and you're building up, like, you're raiding other people's shows, and then that seller knows who you are and they might raid you the next time. So there
yeah,
is like a nice community that you can build on there. It's not just you go there and you sell all your stuff off like in a dingy dark alley and no one hears about it. You can build a really nice sort of platform there. And I think that was the thing that I started to look at after last year, where I'd stopped doing shows and I just
mm,
looked at my Whatnot account and I was like, there's 2,000 people that have followed me here. I've sold over 1,000 items, like nearly 1,500 items on the platform. That's not to be sniffed at. Like, that's actually a lot of items. That's a lot of work. Like, maybe I haven't earned the most amounts of profit that I could from it, but I shouldn't be sort of closing myself off to these selling opportunities.
yeah,
And I've even started to, like, experiment a bit more with other platforms, like putting things on Facebook Marketplace, if it's too big or bulky for me to sort
yeah,
of put it into my eBay or ship it somewhere. And because I don't drive, I can't really plan to go and do a car boot sale and, like, clear out a load of stuff in one go, or for cheap that way. So I sort of use Whatnot as my option for, like, the online car boot sale.
yeah, yeah. If you don't want to be asked getting up at 4 in the morning and selling everything for a quid, if you're going
Yeah,
to do that, you might as well try and just sell it on Whatnot.
yeah, exactly,
You might as
exactly.
well.
And then we can ship it all over the world.
Yeah,
You don't have to have international shipping on there either, but I accidentally had it on last show, and someone in America bought like 60 quid's worth of die cast cars from me.
Yeah.
And I don't think that would have happened if it wasn't on international. And I didn't even realize I'd made the mistake. So it turned out to be a good mistake.
It's
Um,
weird how selling like has gone full circle, because it kind of feels like year 2K to be like selling live, like QVC. That's
mm,
like 25 years ago, isn't it? When you used to flick through your Sky channels and get
yeah,
to number 82 and it's QVC, and someone stood there selling something. It feels like it's kind of, that's now in the hands of the masses due to technology that we have. It's crazy. If you'd have said that like 20 years ago, you'd never believe that it would happen so
no,
soon. Because 20
no,
years in time is not really a massive amount of time. It doesn't feel like it is from the year
mm,
2000, but you would not have believed that we'd be in that situation right now.
no. And like it's not just Whatnot either. It's like on TikTok Shop, and you have people
Yeah.
live streaming, doing like sweets and creating
Yeah.
pieces of art for you live. And it has sort of revolutionized the opportunities that we can like take advantage of.
I stumbled across some speaker on YouTube. I don't even know why it was suggested on my feed. I must have watched something about live selling at some point. But I only watched the first minute, and I put save for later. I'm going to watch it later. But the first minute he was talking about live selling is going to be the biggest thing in the next 5 years or 3 years for selling online. It's going to, he reckons, this
Mm,
guru, whatever he is,
mm.
reckons live selling is going to be it across the world. It's going to be live selling that's going to be the biggest thing to change the way we buy and sell. But I'm going to watch the whole thing as soon as I,
Yeah,
get
I'm
a chance.
curious. You have to send it over to me as well. I love
I'll
watching.
send it. Yeah, I don't know how much further it goes into it and who he is or anything,
Yeah,
but this
yeah.
guy just popped up, and sometimes it gives you a preview before you watch,
Mhm.
and that's what I saw, and it dragged me in. I thought I'll save that for later.
Speaking of that, I
Mm.
wanted to give you a congratulations for
Oh yeah,
hitting 15,000
I know, it's
subscribers
mad,
on
isn't it?
your YouTube channel.
It's mad. 15,000. That's crazy. That's
That
10
is
years though. I mean,
nuts.
that's not 1 year. I was saying in the live last night, that's not just me turned up to the party and 1 year later I'm on 30K or whatever it is. These lucky buggers out there who managed to do that.
Mm.
But that's 10 years of hard graft, like 1,200 videos. It's ridiculous how much time I've spent making videos. I bet my hourly rate's about 20p an hour or something. It's just crazy.
I've never tried to work that out actually, of like how much is
You
it
don't want to, because you'd
you earn.
probably quit.
Yeah, it's probably not the biggest return.
No.
I was curious though, because as you were saying, like you've been at this for 10 years, growing this channel, like making videos, like week in, week out, sort of enhancing your craft, trying to learn what the audience wants, trying to learn what you want to create yourself. And like as a creator that's been on the platform for this long and sort of built your channel up to the size that it is, what are some of the biggest learnings or like lessons that you've had from then until now? Or is there anything that really sticks out to you as a sort of turning point that was either like where you started to get more results, or even like your own mentality where you're able to
Mm.
sort of just get on with the channel and not be distracted by other
Not
things?
really a turning point, but I would say this, one piece of advice is you've got to turn up every time, like every week, you've got to turn up. That you can't be, I don't think you'd have a successful YouTube channel if you're a yo-yo YouTuber. If you
Mm,
quit and start and quit and start. Like if you look back on the last 10 years on my channel, I've not had a break,
mm,
literally. I might have been poorly for a week and not put a video out, but other than that, there's a minimum one video, mostly two videos every week.
yeah.
And sometimes those videos only get 100 views,
Mhm.
200 views. It don't matter. You've got to turn up the following week, because you just got to be there, and you've got to keep putting out the content.
Yeah,
If you're not consistent, I don't really see how you can have a truly successful channel. Some people will do, and
yeah,
but I've avoided the drama. I mean, I put a video out this week that did have a bit of a dramatical thumbnail on it, but I avoid generally the drama stuff of
yeah,
it. Fight at the boot sale. It's not me really, to be honest. I want to support boot sales. I don't want a boot sale to feel like you know, I'm putting out negative comments, content about them. I
Mhm.
don't want to do that, because I want boot sales to thrive and be good and people enjoy going to them and get bigger. I want there to be more buyers and more. It might sound funny, but if there's more buyers, more people sell stuff, they enjoy the experience, so therefore more people come back and sell, and it's better
Mm.
for everybody if it's busy. And sometimes, you know, like in all these conversations this last week about our YouTubers damaging reselling and by
Mm.
sharing car boot sales and stuff, I just see it as promotion, positive promotion. And if boot sales are better because of it, then that benefits all of us. But yeah, going back to your original point, I just go off on one sometimes.
No, no, it's fine.
It's like, yeah, I just think you've got to turn up and you just got to keep doing it. It doesn't matter if you get 100 views or 1,000 views or 10,000 views. You just
Mhm.
got to keep coming back and putting the content out, and eventually people will follow you. People will be interested in your journey, and
Mm.
you will get. I still get videos that, you know, get only a few hundred views.
Mhm.
You know, it happens. Sometimes a video just doesn't hit the mark. It doesn't matter. Just forget about that one. Put your next video out. And don't have long breaks. Don't say, right, that's it. I've had enough of YouTube now.
Yeah.
I'm turning off the socials. I get it. I understand it. Mental health
Mhm.
and stuff. You know, and it happens to me as well. I feel like turning it off. You know, you get some nasty
Yeah.
comments and trolls, but you just got to keep turning up. And eventually, there was a video I watched not long ago about, like, think of it as like a bank paying interest and
Mm.
compound interest, and how as you add to your bank account of videos, it kind of adds the interest as you go on over time, because it compounds like the number of
Yeah.
videos. Like now, if I didn't put a video out for a month, I'll still earn from all the other videos that are still out there.
Yeah.
So that's like your interest that's coming in from the past.
Mm.
So it's like I do watch a lot of videos about how to have a successful channel. Some of them are really bad and clickbaity, but some of them
Yeah.
I just pick out little things. Like I like that idea of compound interest. Like just keep putting money in your bank every week,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
will come back to you later on. You know.
It's very. I've had a very similar mindset, and like, thank you for sharing those as well, because I think it's missed a little bit in like growing the channel becomes merged into the business, and then like it doesn't get given the credit it deserves. But like it's people's entire full-time jobs to run YouTube channels. Like, like I
Yeah.
used to be in as a part of a team where 5 people helped run one YouTube channel, and the
It's
fact
mad,
that
isn't it?
like you're running a business, buying, selling all these different platforms, and you're documenting your journey, making videos, is just something that I think is too commonplace now that we see it as normal, when actually, like, to me, in my eyes, that's a step of going above and beyond. Like, we don't have to be making any of this content. We don't have to be sharing anything at all. We don't have to be doing this show right now, but we've chosen to do it. We've put ourselves here, and we want to sort of build something. And I very much came from this very similar idea. Instead of looking at it like a bank account, it was like digital real estate.
Mm.
So you were like getting your plot of land of digital real estate, and it lives there forever now. Like it's been created. It's literally there forever. Someone can find it, click on it, enjoy the video, watch it, whether that's tomorrow, a year from now. Like once it's made, it's there, like ready for people to watch. Like just the same as the item isn't going to sell unless it's listed. Like it has to be listed for it to sell. The video has to be made and posted for people to watch it. It's that same thing. But I very much tried to buy into this, and I noticed that it was something I was doing wrong last year, where I was sort of letting it slip up too often, of like how frequently I was posting.
Mm.
I would sort of have the drive one week and get 3 videos edited, and then the next week I would have taken on way too many tasks that were nothing to do with editing, and then all of a sudden I'm behind 3 videos, and it was like give and take, and
What I
especially
tend to do, like, is sorry, Toby. What I tend to do in that respect is, if I'm having a good period, because you do go through ups and downs with making
yeah, yeah,
content. Sometimes I just can't be asked. I really can't. But what I tend to do is, when I'm in a mood to make videos, like I'll get a few in the bank.
yeah,
And but what you'll notice on my channel is I don't really release more than 2 a week.
mhm,
But it doesn't mean that I haven't got another 5 that are done, ready
Yeah.
to go on the channel, like in the background, just scheduled, because then that gives you a few weeks off if you want it.
Mhm.
So have some saved so that when you just want a rest from it, because you do need a rest sometimes. I'm not
Yeah.
saying like as a yo-yo YouTuber like some people are. I'm not saying that you can't have a rest or a break.
Mhm.
Just do it smart. Make
Yeah.
it look like the audience doesn't know you're having a break, but you're actually having a break because that video was done 2 weeks ago. You know,
That's
you
the
gotta be
exact
smarter about it.
that's the exact move I've made this
Mm,
past week, where I plan to have 2 videos coming out this past week, and I've had them filmed, and they're, like, 90% edited. All I need to do is add, like, the screenshots of the solds, and it's ready to go. And this will move us on to the topic of the actual show. We've spent 40 minutes chatting about everything else.
doesn't matter. We can go on as long as you like.
Yeah, yeah. But, this past week has just been really busy for me because I've essentially had a house clearance arrive
Mm.
at my house. So I knew some people that, they knew someone who had passed away and their house needed clearing, and they were getting quotes from, like, clearance people and charity shops and things. And I believe the British Heart Foundation quoted them £750 per room to
What?
come and remove their stuff.
That's mad.
And I was, like, blown away at how much they were being charged. And for them, they essentially reached out to me saying, like, "Tom, we know you're a seller. We don't know if all the stuff is good for you or not, but the majority of it is clothing, and there's some other bits mixed in there as well. But how would you like to just take it off of our hands? Like, if we can find a way to get it to you, would you just take it from us so that it'll save us 1,500 quid and it gets me loads of free stock for my business?"
Yeah.
And
Winner, winner.
win-win. Like,
Yeah.
I can't say no to that. But the thing I didn't think about was the space. Again,
Mm.
um, I did this before when I took on that clothing deal where I purchased someone's store that was, like, leaving the business, and I bought all of their items and essentially had to sort of sacrifice the space in my house for a good few months as we worked through it all and got it sold.
Sometimes you just gotta take it and do it
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's looking a gift horse in the mouth, innit?
100%. And I would be kicking myself if I didn't take the opportunity to do it.
And
But
one
it was
opportunity leads to another. Who knows what the next opportunity is? It's like
exactly.
putting yourself out on YouTube, right? I can't think of a single big deal that I've done that hasn't come from YouTube.
Mm,
Everything comes back to YouTube. Like, I've had 2 messages this week from people on WhatsApp because I do YouTube. They watch the channel. Do I
mhm.
want to buy XYZ? I've got a big job lot of football jerseys. I've got this, I've got that. And they message me on, and if I didn't have my YouTube channel, they don't know who the hell I am or where to contact me.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's hidden. That's the hidden benefit of doing YouTube that not everyone sort of takes into account. There's so many potential deals that you can do.
But because they're, like, videos that are made and saved, and, like, even when you do a live stream, it's sort of like it's having a conversation and it saves and people can watch it back. I find that when someone watches the video, it's like you're having a conversation with them, regardless of whether they're watching it as you posted it, whether they were watching it live, whether it's a year from now, as we're saying. Um, no matter they're watching it in the same way as you created it. So if
Mm,
there's room for them to interpret, like, "Oh, this is what you do. Like, I've got something I need to sell. I'll send you a message." It sort of creates the hub for people to get to know you, see what you do, and give a point to, like, contact you if they need to. And as you were saying of, like, I'm sure this deal will lead to more things. This
mm.
deal actually came from me going to the local charity shop that popped up, called Mercy in Action. And I was going in there frequently, and I got friendly with the manager in there, and then I started volunteering there, and I tried to even
Right.
get an assistant manager job there at one point. And eventually that shop closed down, and I bought all of their stock that they had left over, from them, which was like hundreds of bags, black bags full of clothing. Um, and that deal essentially was because I knew that lady, and then from here, that was the person who reached out to me saying, "We've got a house clearance." So it's like, again, full circle. This wouldn't
Yep.
have happened if I hadn't have done that before.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of things I was going to mention, but where that's eaten up my time, I haven't been able to get these 2 videos out this week. So now I'm sort of working in this frame of, right, I've actually got 4 videos so I can be ahead for next week. Not to sort of give myself a week off, but to make sure that now I've actually got a rolling flow of videos
Yeah.
instead of it being the case of like, there's no video unless I hit record and I sit down and edit it that day
Yeah.
and then post it that day. Like that's too much stress and too much pressure for me to take on. And the other part of it is that you were saying as well, like you don't want to list anything in your store, which is, I think you're saying like less than £15, or like you'll list it for
Yeah.
£20, but you don't want to sell it for less than 10.
Less than 10. Yeah.
Where I've had all this free stock come in, I'm now thinking like, is a tenner worth listing?
Mm.
Because it was 0 cost of goods. I don't have to
Yeah.
think about the 2 or 3 or £4 that it cost me in the first place. It's because it's all profit. But then at the same time, I've been working this whole time to sort of increase the average sale price in my
Yeah.
store by sourcing better and better items with higher values and faster sell-through rates so that I can sort of see that increase. And I'm now at this predicament where I've got all of this free stock that might only be worth a tenner, but is it worth me listing it because
Vinted then.
it's free? And like, it's like trying to figure out what is the best place for it to go on,
Yeah.
because like I thought the same thing, like just put all of the £10 stuff onto Vintage straight away. But it's items that I've never even listed on Vinted. I don't even know if they sell on Vinted, like vintage ceramic bowls and things like that. Like I
You might
know
be
that,
surprised.
yeah, I know there's a market for it on eBay because I've seen them sell there
Mm.
before, but I've never sort of dealt with that on Vinted or even Whatnot. I know people do specialize in that on Whatnot, but I've never done a show selling those kind of things before. And it's sort of it's that thing of like, great, yeah, sign up to it, bring the stock in, let's go. And now I've got it all here. I'm trying to figure out what the hell do I do with all this stuff. Giant suitcases and like ironing boards. I can't sell that. I can't do anything with that. It needs to go in the
I'd
tip.
be
It
looking
needs
at,
to go to the car boot. Like,
yeah, either Carboot, like don't be afraid even to donate some of it back somewhere.
yeah,
You know, I don't be afraid to do that because you got the stock for free. Cherry pick it and set yourself a limit. Like if there's anything like less than £5, you know, donate it. You know,
yeah,
don't I it's not worth your time. Like
yeah,
it's probably not, it might not even be worth whatnotting because
yeah,
you know what it's like. Like if on Whatnot, if you sell a 50 things, 100 things, and it's like bowls, plates, toys, it's a freaking nightmare packing it all.
yeah,
It takes you the half of the next day, and that's half your day gone
yeah.
packing for Whatnot on something that's sold for £1. And it's like you've got to think like sometimes it's better just to donate it, get shot of it, it's out of your mind headspace, it's
Mhm.
gone. And then you can focus on the things that are like worth something. I'm not, doesn't have to
Yeah.
be worth £20, but it's worth something, worth your time.
I think that's a good way to look at it actually, because I've been trying to come at it from, I want to save everything. I don't want anything to go to waste. Like I
Mm.
want to try and
Oh
get
yeah,
as
I
much
understand
money
that.
for it as possible. And like, if I can, should I start repairing these things? And like, that's a whole other ball game to get into. Like I don't do repairs or anything like that, but I've been looking at some of these things thinking like, oh, if I just fixed that, or I found the spare piece to attach to it, maybe it would be worth it. And I'm talking myself into all of these like
Yeah,
scenarios which aren't what my business is. Like that's,
yeah.
I need to still treat it as my business runs the exact same. I now just got some stock in for free. And as you're saying, I should cherry pick it and clear out the low end stuff that doesn't work for me. But it was this whole thing of like, is it better to do a blind bulk deal and just like get all this random stuff in and then deal with it once it's all here? Or is it
Mm.
better for me to go out and cherry pick each individual item at a charity shop or at a car boot sale or on Vinted? Like I'm trying to figure out what is the best use of my time and the best use of my money, because
I think it's
I go downstairs and I'm like, oh, all of these free items. I don't need to go out to the shop. I don't need to account for all this time of like being here or there or anywhere else or buying lunch out for the day. It's like I can just walk downstairs, pick up a box and fire away. Like we can just get going straight away. And
Yeah.
to me, that seems like a hack that I've like uncovered. And it's like all of a sudden I'm pumping out 10, 20, 30, 40 drafts a day, whereas I was struggling to sort of get 10 drafts a day before when I was trying to go to different charity shops and find items that meet my
Yep.
metrics perfectly. And I was spending all day out doing that. And then I had to come home and do all the listings rather than having all day to do as many listings as I want. And I don't know, it's just purely up for discussion of like, what do you find is best for you in doing like wholesale deals or cherry picking the items?
I think there is a point there in the middle that actually works perfectly, and that is to, it sounds silly, and that's to cherry pick wholesale. And
Right.
that's what I do a lot of. I've just put in an order with a company on the Fleek website, and basically they had a job lot of NFL jerseys in Pakistan, and I can't remember the exact price of it. It was about £420 or something for this job lot of jerseys.
Mm.
And what they did was they put a video on there of the exact jerseys.
Right.
So we knew, you know what you're buying.
Yeah.
So you're getting like, I think it was 40 jerseys. You know what you're getting, and when they arrive on your doorstep, you're going to have 40 items to list. That
Mhm.
is much better than to get 40 items at a charity shop. I mean, I spend 2-3 days probably trying to
Mhm.
get that.
Yeah.
That's much better. But on top of that, what I did with that wholesaler is I messaged them and I said, I've got 500 quid to spend. How about you dig out another 10 jerseys, make it 50 jerseys, and
Mm.
we'll call it 500 quid. Basically, it's like a best offer type thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we round it up to 500, but you add another 10 in. So I get a bit of a better deal because I'm getting more for my money. And send me a video of those extra 10. So there I've got a video of all 50
Mm.
for my £500. So this is what I did this week, and I've not received them yet. I've only just put the order in, but
Yeah.
that's the kind of thing I'm talking about, is that there is a bit in between that you can do. You can buy bulk from any of them
Mm.
and sort of cherry pick as well. And I think that's the best place to be in if you can. You can go to some wholesalers, like clothing wholesalers. There's one near us that me and Andrew Monumental sometimes
Mhm.
use, and we go along there and we hand pick there
Mm.
for a set price per item. And you can spend a couple of hours there just rummaging through their bags and sacks and whatever you want, it's a set price.
Yeah.
And you can come away with 30, 40, 50 items. That is a much, much better use of your time. And I'm
Mm.
quite happy to do that in my what I class as business time, work time,
Mhm.
because it's a good use of time. I'm not happy going around a charity shop in my Monday to Friday work hours, because for me that's a
Mm.
waste of time. I only do charity shops when it's a weekend and it's not my official business work time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do it for leisure. I might take a video camera, get a bit of footage, double whammy, get a bit of stock, make a video.
Mhm.
Everyone's, everything's ticking over. But I wouldn't be happy like today. What is it today? Tuesday. I'd be out of sync if I went and did a charity
Mm.
shop run today. It would knock me out of sync. Like I would lose my listing time,
Yeah.
lose dealing with all the drafts that I've got from the VA, and lose getting photographs sent up there. And it would knock me well out of sync. I don't want to go out during my work day,
Yeah.
really. You think you can buy all that stuff bulk just sat here.
Yeah.
What's the point of going out, and what's the point? I just think the bulk way is the best way. Even blind bulk can work out if you
Mm.
found a wholesaler that you're okay with, that you feel relatively. There's none of them are perfect, so let's get the one
Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
straight. But I've got 3 on my list at the minute that I've bought from in the past, and I will buy from again, and I will buy blind if I have to, because I'm relatively comfortable. And you just have to accept when you're buying that in that fashion that some of your items are going to be wastage.
Mhm.
So 10 to 20% you might not be able to sell. So knock that off your thought process when you buy it and work
Yeah.
out the per piece price after you've knocked off the 10 to 20%. And that's your true cost per piece.
Mhm.
And if that's okay with you, then do that. I do it all the time. I just like buying. Sometimes I like buying blind. It's exciting. It gives me something interesting to do on my day. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm waiting for this box to come. It's got 50 items of clothing in it. I know some of it is going to be shit. No matter how good the wholesaler is, some of it's going to be terrible, unsaleable, dirty. But there'll probably be the odd thing in there that will get you a bulk of your money back, and
Mhm.
then you're into profit. And I rarely lose out on a bulk deal, even the blind ones.
Mm.
Rarely. You know,
It's
I could,
so
I w
interesting because, like, I'm always wondering, like, oh, how many items have actually sold from that? How many got redonated? How many are
yeah,
met the margins? Or like, it from the outside looking in, it sometimes just looks like you're gonna recoup your money and that's it. And it's hard to see, like, which items are the standout ones where you're, like, really making the profit from them. And, like, I don't know if that's just, like, my sort of not doing the wholesale model very much. Like, I don't really order from wholesalers. I think I've done it once in the past for like a small bundle of like 10 things, but
yeah.
I've not done like a major deal from a wholesaler. I've only bought from other sellers that were sort of liquidating
It's
stock
risky though,
themselves.
Tommy. It is risky, and if your cash flow if you're short on cash flow, I don't advise you to do the blind stuff if you're
Yeah,
short, because you could tie up your money on some stuff that's absolutely crap. That's the truth
yeah,
of it. But most places will allow you to do some kind of video or hand pick. They'll go around on the phone. They'll make a pile of what you've asked for, like, oh, I want North Face jackets. They'll make a pile of North Face jackets, and they will go on a live call with you or send you a video of them going through every jacket. It's not
mm,
a perfect way because you do miss things like holes in a pocket or
yeah,
little marks, things that you can't quite see. But on the whole, it's probably better to do that than have a blind box of a load of rubbish.
mhm,
But
mhm,
like a couple of weeks ago, I bought. There was an amazing offer on one of the wholesale sites. It worked out. They have all different. They had all different categories. There'll be some people in the chat that know about it. You'll probably know, Tommy, because you're in the
yeah, yeah,
Discord, right? We did some deal. We did loads of people did some deals, right? This wholesale company had categories that worked out at £1 an item, including taxes, including shipping, £1 an item. Loads of us jumped on it on the Discord, and I spent 400 quid in about 30 minutes. I'd spent £400, and come early March, I'm going to be inundated with 400 items ready to list. 400 items. If half of them is crap, I've still got 200 items that only cost me £2 a piece. It's a
mhm,
no-brainer. Tell me how long it would take you to go around a charity shop and source 400 items at £1 each. I bet you can't even do it.
yeah,
You can't even get £1 an item at most as a walk-in. I'm not talking
yeah,
about
yeah,
if
yeah,
you've got a special deal with the charity
yeah,
shop. If you go in and they know you and you get a deal or they hold stuff back. I'm talking about walking into a charity shop. Tell me where you can get 400 items for £1 a piece in 30 minutes. I know it's not possible, but
mhm,
that's what I'm talking about. Good use of your time. That took me half an hour. And in March, like 1st of March onwards, that's all going to land on my doorstep. I can't see how I'm going to lose.
yeah, yeah.
I just
It
can't see.
it it is hard to see how you would lose. I think it's the thing of, like, because you also said, like, you enjoy that. You enjoy that there's sort of, like, the blind element
I
to
do
it.
quite
It's
enjoy
it's,
it.
like, exciting that something's arriving and you don't really know what it is. Whereas I think, like, other people might be scared of that, or, like, or hate the idea that it's blind and they don't, like, "I wanna know everything. I wanna know exactly what's in there. I
Yeah.
wanna know the exact condition. I wanna know exactly where my money's going and that it's not gonna be wasted." And it's interesting because I've very much been leaning into the charity shop model of like going out, hand picking the items, taking as much time as I need to research it in the shop if I need to, or like double check the materials and like really work everything out. Because before I used to sort of buy a load of stuff and then 30% of it was like actually worth picking up. There was like
Yeah.
40% which is like, yeah, could have left it, could have picked it up, it's fine. And then the others which is just rubbish and I shouldn't have even picked it up in the first place. And that was sort of out of panic buying, not really knowing what I was looking for and sort of learning on the job. And I've definitely found that from the bulk deals I've done, I'm able to go through a box and I can research it as I'm going through the box and learn like, oh, this is a good brand. I should look for that next time I'm out in the shop. So it's like it like gives me a reference point for the bulk
Yeah.
deals. And like the same thing, like being out in the charity shops, learning like what's a good brand, what's not a good brand, and seeing what they're charging for it in the shop helps me to think if it's a steal, if I ever find it on Vinted or if I find it at a Carboot sale. And like I know that a charity shop was charging 7.99 for this Ralph Lauren polo shirt. That's too expensive for me to buy it to resell it, expecting that it might sell for £15. But if I see that same shirt in a bulk deal and there's 10 of them in there, well, then that might be worth my while. Or if someone's got a pile at a car boot sale and it's £1 an item or 50p
Yeah.
an item, I know I can pick those items up quickly. But I wouldn't want to buy like a bulk mystery bundle anymore, like or not for me for a while anyway. I want to be hand picking. I want to be
Yeah.
choosing the good stuff, the fast sell through rates, the quality brands. Because I did the big bulk deal, and yeah, there was some good stuff in there, but there was also loads of bad stuff in there, or things that just don't meet my metrics or don't meet the model that I'm trying to sort of run.
Yeah.
And then I've been left with like, I don't want to create waste, so I don't want to throw them away. And I've redonated some of them, but others is like, it's good items. It could work for someone. It's just how do I sell it in the right way? And I've seen in the Discord, like people, if they're trying to clear things out, they're sort of send it as an offer and bundle loads of things together and put it out there for people to sort of, if it doesn't work for my business, it might work for yours. Um, and it's
Everyone's
not,
business model is different. That's the thing. We're all
yeah.
different. Yours is different from mine, and different from everybody in the chat. Everyone's different. I think the key is with any kind of buying decision is just weighing up the risk of buying it, and
Mm,
is it like with bulk selling, bulk buying. The level of risk. If it's £10 an item, like an NFL jersey, like what I've done in the past, ideally I want to be seeing it because it's £10 an item. I don't want a lot of waste with that.
mhm,
But £1 an item, however, there's the level of risk is much less because if I'm getting like one of the lots that I bought was like Western style shirts, like Wrangler Lee Western style shirts, 50
mhm,
for £50, including shipping and taxes. I mean, in reality, I only need two to get my money back because you can get 20 to £30 a shirt if you've got the right shirt.
mhm,
So this is how I work it out in my head whether to take the risk. 2 out of 50, let's err on the side of caution.
mm,
4 out of 50 gets your money back. Okay, let's say 10 of them are a load of shit and you have to put them in the bin or donate them to charity or
mhm,
whatever. That leaves me with 36 that are maybe saleable. I might have to get them washed at the laundrette at like 50p to £1 each.
mm,
It increases the amount. And I might go on Vinted with some of them because it's lower value. I might take them to car boot sale if I'm left with any. But
yeah,
overall, the level of risk is saying it's pretty low, on
mm,
that.
mhm,
£10 a shirt is high risk. That's why I want to see what I'm buying.
yeah,
So I think that's the thing. And you going into charity shops and hand picking the gentleman marketeer does, that's even lower risk. That's very low risk, but it's high time. It's high time consumption.
mhm,
So then you've got to think to yourself, like he was saying, he gets 100 items a week from charity shops. That's it, yeah. cost of goods £3.88. But also, what's the time spent in doing that? I'm not saying it's the wrong thing. Everybody's model is different.
Yeah, yeah.
If Simon's got a good set of charity shops, it's great if you have. We don't
Mhm.
around here. It's terrible. But like the time spent doing that, that's another
Yeah.
thing to factor into it.
It's that phrase of like choosing your hard, or like choosing what you want, like what you actually want to be difficult in the business, you know? Like, do you want to be sorting through loads of things and sort like that to be what you're spending your time doing? It's like receiving bundles and sorting through them and putting things in the right order of what you want to keep, what doesn't fit for you, and then finding a way to get those moved on, whether it's donations or Carboot or whatever it is. Or do you want to be spending your time with less things to go through, but
Yeah.
you're using that time to sort of pick each item individually and be more selective about the item, and sort of check that it's worth it in the first place.
I think ideally, the perfect situation for most people and myself is a bit of everything. It's like now
Mm,
and again I'll buy a bundle, and like Project Game says there, sniping on Whatnot. I buy on Whatnot as well.
yeah.
But I'll buy things to resell on Whatnot. At least you can see the items. You can have it on in the background whilst you're working on your laptop and
Mm,
stuff. I'll do that. I'll go into charity shops like you've seen recently, picking up various things. Um, Kilo sales. I used to go to those. This is something we're going
mm,
to talk about with George next week as well on my podcast. But
yeah.
um, I think the whole mixture, if you can mix everything, every different type of sourcing, I think that's the ideal situation, because then you're never really left short of places to source from. It's like some
Yeah.
people who solely source from charity shops, if it dries up a bit or their best one shuts down or whatever,
Mhm,
suddenly they're left thinking, oh, I'll have to go elsewhere now, or go to a different town a bit further away than where I normally go. Or,
mhm.
I think if you keep your options open, I think that's the good thing. That's probably the best way, is like to have those options. And that's why, in regards bulk purchases, that's why I've got a little list. I've narrowed it down. You know how many wholesalers there are that sell you bundles of clothing? There is hundreds of them.
Yeah.
I've narrowed it down at the minute to 3 that I'm willing to buy blind from. I don't always talk about those on videos,
Mhm.
because um, we don't give away all our contacts and all our best suppliers
Yeah.
and all this and that. It's taken me years to narrow that list down to 3.
Yeah.
Why would I tell everybody what it is? If you ask me privately, Tommy, I'll tell you. But
Yeah.
you know,
But you
it,
don't wanna put yourself out of business, like, you don't
yeah,
wanna stuff up your sourcing opportunities by sharing it with everyone, you know?
yeah,
It's hard as well, like, in that position of being the YouTuber, and, like, you wanna share and you wanna tell everyone where you're getting stuff from, and, like, you wanna share the whole picture and, like, help people get started and help people level up their businesses. And like, I don't know what your sort of goal is for your channel, and like, I'm not saying mine is to like help educate everyone be the best sellers, but it's like you feel like there's a sort of responsibility to say either where you got stuff from, or how much you paid for it, or how much you're willing to get for it. And like, when you're recording yourself, or like, I definitely feel it, I feel like I need to be as transparent as possible. But at the same time, I have thought more recently, like, well, I don't want to shoot myself in the foot and say, everyone go to this charity shop and buy all of their stock, because then I won't be able to go there and buy all of their stock, like, for myself. So we,
it's a bit
as much
like
as
going back
we're
to
like,
talking about, do YouTube resellers ruin
yeah,
the game
yeah,
for everybody? And what people forget is that the majority of us don't actually share everything, because you'd
mhm,
be crazy to share everything. You would be crazy to share everything, because you do shoot yourself in your foot doing so. But I'll share a lot, but there are
yeah.
some things that I just won't share, and that's just being sensible, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so too. I think so too. We've got to protect ourselves and our own
Yeah,
businesses. And like, as much as like we are all together, like we're working together, like I feel that a lot of the time when I talk to other resellers, I'm like, I feel like we're working together, even though we're running separate businesses, selling maybe similar items or maybe different items. We're all doing the same thing. And then it feels like we're all work colleagues. but at the same time, like we are each other's competition as well.
Yeah.
And it's like it's that strange side of the coin where like we're actually competing against one another. Where and I think this when you were saying of like sales have slowed down for you, but they've sped up for me. Like, is that just the filter of attention has been given to my store instead of your store? And even though we might sell similar items, it's like mine got highlighted today instead of your ones, and that's
Yeah.
the only difference. Like, it's not that the items were bad, it's not that you're a bad seller, it's just there's more out there that's in control of our sales and like what we're
Yeah.
picking up than what
Totally.
we really like can share or talk about like a lot of the time. And I wanted to sort of like come to sort of round off the show by really just talking about something you brought up about what you see. Like you said, someone sees the future of reselling to be the live selling side of things.
Mm.
That's going to really take off and be like the main way that people are selling things online. But from everything you've sort of had your dipped a toe into with like Whatnot, Till, I'm not sure if you used Poshmark at any point,
I never
but
quite got there. No.
yeah, I'd missed that boat as well. But with all of these different things that are sort of coming out, like, do you really feel like that's the future of reselling? Or as a wider question, like, what do you feel the future of reselling is, either for yourself or as a wider picture?
It's a difficult one to answer, to be honest. I do think live selling is going to be much bigger than it is now.
Mm,
I think if eBay can enter that market sooner rather than later, can you imagine like how much advertising money eBay would put into their live selling offering? They would go
yeah,
mental on it. You can just see it now. It'd be sponsoring all kinds of stuff on TV. It'd be on
yeah.
all the prime time slots. Like, you know, they advertise heavily now, but if they release live selling, I'm pretty sure that would be something that they would really go for. And in turn, by highlighting eBay as being a live selling platform now,
Mhm,
then Whatnot would love that. Actually,
yeah.
it would create a massive competition for Whatnot,
Mhm,
but it would also highlight them as well, because when people
yeah.
start searching on Google for live selling, they'll also come up in that list, and they'll be talked about in the same circles as eBay live selling, just
Mhm,
like Tilt would be delighted with it as well.
yeah.
Massive competition, but they would love it. Free advertising for them because they're going to come up in those conversations.
Mm,
So I do think live selling is going to be massive, but I don't know. I mean, if you look at how big Whatnot is in the US, if it gets anywhere near as big as that here in the UK, it's going to blow everything out of the water. You know,
yeah.
people are selling tens of thousands of pounds. I know there's big sellers on there, but you know, even like smaller sellers are still doing really well on Whatnot. It's just
Mm.
huge in the US. I just wish they would get the finger out and sort of, you know, promote themselves here.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, tell people about it. No one knows about it, but I don't know, what does the future hold for reselling? I don't know.
Or what does the future hold for you? Like, what are you looking to tackle, like, as maybe the next level up for yourself in your reselling business, rather than us trying to sort of analyze the whole
Mm,
world because we don't know how it's all going to go. We can
yeah.
speculate, but it's interesting to sort of see ideas. But even just for yourself, like maybe over the next coming year, do you have like a goal or anything that you're trying to achieve, or you'd like to have your business in a certain position by X, Y, and Z date?
I'm b If I'm honest, like, I'm fairly happy with how it's going. I want to keep increasing the turnover over the next couple of years. Like, so
Mm,
far, each year has been better for me since I started. Like, from
yeah.
2019 to now, each year has been an improvement on the last monetary wise.
Mm,
So that needs to carry on. My initial one was to try and improve my Vinted, but to be honest with you, since switching to Pro on Vinted, it's absolutely killed it for me. Uh,
right.
Vinted Pro, I would say to anybody, if you know, don't go over to Pro unless you're forced to, because it
Mm,
feels like you're really throttled on the sales. Like, I searched one of my items the other day on Vinted, and it was so far down the list you wouldn't have even got there.
that's
It's
crazy.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was hoping Vinted was going to be this year's sort of big thing, but I'm not
Yeah.
convinced now.
Yeah.
I was hoping it was going to, maybe overtake Whatnot, but I might have to stick to Whatnot, to be honest with you.
Mm.
But I'm just happy. I'm fairly happy at where I'm at. Just with a small increase each year would be good.
I think that is like a perfect answer though, and I think it's one that we often don't go to, is like actually realizing that you're happy where you're at. Like I'm constantly trying to strive for more, and with the YouTube channel, with the business, everything is all about, we want to see the line go up. We want more
Yeah.
views, more subscribers, more sales, more profit. And it can be hard because you get wrapped up into that sometimes. And like recently, I've had some triple figure sales, and
Nice.
normally I would have been like jumping for joy, smiling all day. And I've had the sale come in and no emotion. And I'm wondering like, what is going on? It's because I've trained myself to see more, more, more. I want it bigger, 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 like more listings, higher prices. And even when I'm hitting those higher prices or those higher numbers, like, it doesn't feel like enough because I'm trying
Yeah.
to tell myself I want more and more. And the same for a YouTube video. Like one of my most viewed videos is on like 5,000 views or something. That's like my highest viewed video at the moment. And I'm like, great, but I want it to have more, more, more. It's like,
Yeah.
it's when is enough enough? And sort of you being able to say that like you're happy with where you're at, like what you've got is enough for you, and then you just want to continually grow it a little bit
I
over
just
year
want to
by
grow a
year.
little bit. The problem is, if I grow too much, I start getting into the realms of having to get a premises,
Yeah.
having to get an employee. I don't want it. I'm
Mm,
quite happy. At the moment, can pay the bills, got a bit of spending money, and we're relatively happy.
yeah.
So I don't really want to go down that route. I've always been a big advocate of, and I say it whenever I'm chatting to people, and is to balance the work and the life.
Mm,
I just think it's so important. And I think that's partly because I'm 46. I think I'm getting older. I watched a YouTube reel or a short or something the other day that said that when you're in your once you hit 45 or 46, you kind of 60% of your life is done. So I've
mm,
only got 40% left. Like on average, for an average
mm,
male in the UK living to whatever it is these days, 75, 80,
mhm.
I'm past halfway. I'm on the other side of it. So maybe I've not got much time left. So I don't want to spend the whole of my time working.
Yeah.
Where's the fun in that?
Yeah.
The thing is, right, well, one of the changing points, like in the way I thought about things, when you stood in front of a coffin of a family member
Mm,
and you're looking at their life and what they did, and you're thinking to yourself, well, they've gone now, and what was the point of that?
mhm.
Not in a negative way, but like
Yeah. Yeah.
when someone's died, it's finished.
Yeah.
We have a very finite time on this earth,
Mhm.
and I just think I don't want to spend the whole time working. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong, we have to work. We have to pay to live. We
Yeah.
have to earn some money to go and have a good time on holiday and make memories and do the things that you like with your family and friends.
Mhm.
There's a balance to be had, but it's very hard to get that. And I still don't have it, but I think I'm as close as I'm going to get at the moment
Yeah.
without
Yeah.
working my arse off. And when you're stood in a chapel and you're having to say goodbye to somebody, it does make you think. How long? How long do you want to do it for?
Yeah. It's one of those things that like, and thank you for that answer as well, because that's a really human answer. Like I very much sort of got wired into the robot mindset, and it's nice to be reminded of like
I think it comes
the
more
human
when
side.
you do get a little bit older, or you have a life changing thing. Like when I'm
Yeah.
talking about this, I'm talking about my dad that passed away
Mhm,
not long, a few years back.
mhm.
So it's I think that's what
It
I'm saying.
yeah, there is one thing I've always sort of been hard to resonate with people on is because, like, I haven't had a major loss that's been, like, close to me in, like,
Mm.
in that way, and, like, I don't wanna ever sound, like, heartless or, like, unsympathetic to anyone, but it's just that I've not had that situation
Yeah.
happen, and so I don't know how that feels inside. Like, I have been to funerals and I've lost people that were sort of outside of my family or people that I knew, but they weren't, like, close to me. And it's always been a fear I've had as a young kid, like being the youngest sibling in a family of 5, like brothers and sisters is like I've always felt like, am I gonna be the last one there having to watch everyone else go? And it's like I've just tried to avoid thinking about any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I think because it, like, scared me too much, it made me think that, like, I'm wasting my time doing this or that when I should be doing this, and then I'd be beating myself up about it, but I think it is important, and what you've said there has made me feel a lot better about my week coming because I've had this house clearance thing come in, I've got stock coming in, I'm trying to level up the business and get more listings out than I ever have, and I'm in a really good flow with that, but at the same time, it's my friend's birthday, and I don't wanna miss that, and I wanna make sure we have a good celebration. I don't wanna be distracted about, "Oh, I've got to pack this or send offers out or anything." I wanna be there and present. And then my sister's coming down from Scotland, and it's like, I wanna visit her and be there with her and spend the time there. I
Yeah.
don't wanna have to be stressing about sales and work, and then the same thing, my Gigi's mum's coming over the next day, so it's like we've
You
got a
know, you do
really
have to do some work at some point,
yeah,
Tommy, otherwise you
I know.
no, you can't. Yeah,
And I've
you're right,
scheduled
though.
listings for those
Right.
days so that I don't have to worry about it anymore. Whereas before, I would have been in, like it would be the day before, and I'd be panicking, thinking, like, "I've got to stay up till midnight to get as much as I possibly can done." Whereas now I'm trying to be more calm about it, and by being more calm, I'm actually able to achieve way
Mm.
more because I'm not stressing about, "Oh, I'm gonna miss this moment unless
Yeah.
I plan for this thing," and I'm looking forward now to this weekend and having my friend's birthday and seeing my family and seeing Gigi's family because before it felt like, oh, it's the last thing I need to do right now because I've got all these other things going on. But as you're saying, it's like I don't just want to live my life to work and then be
Yeah.
like I've missed all these moments with everyone along the way. So I'm trying to get myself into that balance more to be, like, present with the people that I know and love, but also be proud of the work that I'm doing every day.
The good thing is we're self-employed. We work for ourselves,
Mm,
and we can juggle what we do in order to make time for stuff. Like, yeah, we still have to list stuff. We still got to get eBay working. Otherwise, we can't do all these things. We can't travel and go to a birthday. We can't do this and that.
yeah.
We haven't got the money to go out and celebrate. But it's better than being in a normal job where
Mm,
you've got to book time off and then the boss says, "No, sorry, you can't have time off on that
mm,
day," you know? You can juggle it. You can work a little bit harder the day before and then have the next day off. You can swap and change, and that's the beauty of it. So, yeah, don't forget when you're working for yourself, you've got that option. If you want a
yeah,
week off, great. Work a little bit harder before, work a little bit harder after, but have the week off.
yeah. It is important to remind myself of that, I think, and anyone watching as well. Like, it's too easy to as good as it is to connect with people online and, like, share messages on Instagram and, like, go join live streams like we're doing here and connect with one another, is so important because, like, even this is grounding me right now to, like,
Mhm.
realize, like, where I'm at and everything that's going on, because it's far too easy to get caught up in a whirlwind, like, when you're on your own and, like, being self-employed as the business owner of running this is is hard. Like, you get
Yeah,
caught up in things and, like, priorities mix and match all the time, and you've gotta sort of decide, like, what is the top priority, and, like, it's always changing. Like,
yeah,
one week, it might be you need to get the stock done because it's overflowing the house, but the next week, take some time off because you spent all last week doing work, and now you actually need to, like, check in with your partner and check in with your family and even yourself, like checking in with yourself and doing things for yourself, like I've stopped doing it so much. I tried to play Gran Turismo 4 the other night on the PS2 as like a bit of nostalgia and like a throwback to be like, right, I'm gonna give myself some time to just chill out. And then I was playing the game for about an hour, and I was trying to save, and the save crashed, and it deleted my whole game. And I was like, right, that's
Give up.
it. I give up now. And I
I've
just
got a PS5 down
immediately
there. I
went,
never use it.
immediately went to go and photograph things because I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know what else to do with myself. Like,
That is true sometimes. Yeah. Me and Belle kind of chill out by sort of like putting on a series on Netflix, or we'll go and put a film on. I do like to just switch off and put a 2-hour film on or something and just
yeah.
take my mind away into another world for a couple of
Mm,
hours. Yeah, don't get me wrong. My phone pings. Have a quick look. Oh, there's a sale. There's an offer.
yeah.
I'll deal with it. You know, we all do it. You know, Belle sometimes says, "Put your phone down." You know, forget about it. But you
Mm,
know, I sometimes you sat there trying to chill out and you're sourcing on Vinted. You're trying to snipe stuff on whatnot. You know, you're doing all this stuff, but at the same time as trying to watch stuff. But at
mm.
least you're there. At least you're present. At least you are actually there. You know, that might be the best you can do.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Well, I think it's been an amazing conversation.
Yeah.
I'll check in with the chat, and I'll see a few comments just before we round things off. If
Okie
there's
doke.
any questions that have come in that people want to get answered. But while I do that, if you can think about what's one thing that you're grateful for, and
God.
one affirmation, so like one I am statement that you have, or something
What?
that you're proud of that you could
Oh,
talk
okay.
about. So like I would say like, I am happy today, or I am a positive person. Like, I don't know. It's just to sort of like give yourself a tap on the back for something you feel like you've done well today or this week or whatever it might be. But let me just check in here. So who did we have in? We had marriage reselling in as well. Sometimes you got to let people fill in the blanks for themselves, Tommy. That is true. You can't tell them everything. It's okay to put all your eggs in one basket as long as you control what happens to that basket. I like that. That's quite a good saying there. I think Chris would give up all his trading secrets for Percy pigs.
Yep, I would actually. If you want to know any of those wholesalers, send me some Percy pigs. Yours.
There's a partnership waiting to happen there. I can see it.
Oh,
Percy
can you
Pigs
imagine? I'd be
sponsored
made up
podcast
with that.
series. Angel Delight was saying went to Lush today and made a Valentine's bath bomb. That sounds really cool. I haven't been in Lush in ages, but they always smell. Always smell nicer when I come out of there. This chat went dark quick.
Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry.
It's sometimes just the way
keep
it goes. That's the way it goes. Actually, I wish I was 55, 45 young whippersnappers.
I think something that I've found recently is like questioning your own mortality a lot. I do that a lot these days. It's like I question my own sort of, how long have I got left on this planet? You know, am I going to drop dead tomorrow? Am I going to run over or whatever? And I question that a lot. I don't know why, to be honest. I don't know if it's just because of loss in the family, or whether I've watched too many reels on Instagram, or I don't know.
Have you gotten into stoicism at any point?
What is that?
So like the Stoics were like a group of people that went through like a really hard time in life when like the world was against them, the soil you couldn't grow in it, and all of these kind of things. But they just carried on regardless. And then there's a way of life or whatever called stoicism, where they sort of look at life in a specific way to reflect on your mortality, to realize that you have a limited amount of time, and therefore that time is precious. So what you do with that time is valuable, whatever it is that you do. And like, it's up to you how you spend it and where you allocate it and what you do with it. But like the phrase, like people get it tattooed on them now. It's like a thing that's going around of like memento mori, which is like what they say to remember your mortality. Like memento mori is the phrase to say like you will die one day, and therefore you should live as good a life as you can. But I very much had the same thing, that I used to reflect on my mortality and get very down about it. But until I started looking at these other ways to sort of perceive it, of that there is a limited amount of things, and therefore that makes it special. Because if there was an infinite amount of things, then what does it matter? It doesn't matter to anyone, and it can just go on forever. But We
Yeah.
do have to be careful and specific with what we choose. Um, Project Games is saying it can get lonely, but sometimes we all reach out too much and grow a community, but sometimes it's nice to have a small supportive group. Yeah, definitely. You need to find a balance of a group of people around you that you can chat to on a regular basis and check in with and help you get motivated. But at the same time, like certain things like returns or how's the sales going, we can check in across the board of sellers because everyone's got an input on that. But boo. Secret Couple saying, if you were starting eBay today as a new seller, would you still promote items after 2 weeks?
That's what I'm doing at the moment. I don't promote now in the first 2 weeks of an item being listed, and then I promote it. So yeah, I think that's a good way to do it. To be honest with you, gives it a chance to sell naturally if it's as a new item with its boosted listing and visibility and stuff.
Mhm.
And being new to the eBay market, then yeah, you can get away with selling it without promoted. But then after a couple of weeks, yeah, that's what I would do. I think it's a good way to do it.
I think it's something I need to start trialing out myself because I've always just done the blanket promotions. And the more people I've seen talking about it, the more it seems like I should just trial it and see if it works. There's nothing to lose, really, is there?
Not really.
Jeff saying Chris never questioned his mortality until after he met me and saw a truly old man.
Yeah, that is true. Sorry, Jeff. Yeah, you're very old.
Lynn saying, I believe you have a date on your back when you were born, when you pass.
Really,
Ooh,
Lynn? Do you believe that?
that's
Why not?
interesting. I've never
Will it
looked
show
at
up under a UV light or something?
it like Fluffy Mother saying, reseller YouTube community keeps me sane and inspires me to keep chipping away. Self-employment can be overwhelming sometimes and brilliant other times. I totally agree with that.
Imagine if when we're born, we actually know the date of when we're gonna die. That's
That would
another question, isn't it?
that would be scary.
Imagine.
There's that website or something, isn't there, that's like the death clock or whatever, and you answer all these
Oh, you can,
questions
yeah,
about it,
and
and it,
it
like,
tells you.
predicts when you're gonna die. And, like, I remember back in the day before the internet was, like, really a big thing, and we were first getting onto it, and we were on all these weird websites, me and my sister, and we went on there and showed it to my mum, and she got really scared because she was highly religious at the time, and she was like, "What are why are you giving in to the devil?" And, there's all this hate inside the internet, and you're tapping into it. Why are you tapping into it when there's so much good in the world? Like, really interesting. But I'll round them off there. Did you have what you're grateful for and an affirmation statement?
I'm just grateful for, all the time I get to spend with Belle.
Mm,
That's an easy one. I mean, it's probably an obvious answer, but especially, like, yeah, I'm grateful that we can afford to go on holidays and make
mm.
memories and be able to do all that stuff because I think that's really, really important.
I love that answer. Does that almost tie into like your why for why you do it in the first place?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm,
I think like what I was talking about before, like death and that as well. I think something that I'm really proud of, you may or may not know this, but a few years ago, I donated my stem cells to
mm,
save someone's life in America, a young girl's life. And I think that also links in with why I've got this mentality right now is
mm,
because after we did that, I don't even know if the young lady is still alive, but I assume that she is because I haven't been told anything different. But
mhm,
um, after we did that, I actually got a message. We got a letter from the parent of this child who
mhm,
was like really grateful, obviously, for they said basically their daughter was on death's door before I donated my stem cells to them.
mm.
And I think that really makes you think about life in a different way. And I think that was a big life changing moment for me, like mentality wise. And
Mhm.
also obviously when you have a close death in the family, it changes your mind again. So I think that is something that, you know, probably my most proudest moment apart from like marrying Belle.
Yeah, yeah.
Obviously I
Well,
have to say that
that's
she might be
incredible,
watching.
Chris. That's a
Mm.
incredible thing. Like, I I very much do not like medical things, and I avoid it all as much as I possibly can. But appreciate how important it is and how much it does for people. And especially like giving blood and things like what you're saying, like donating your stem cells, like that's insane. But we need more people like you. And I keep saying it more and more that not all heroes wear capes. Some of them just look like you know?
You can get on that register as well, Tommy. You're still young enough.
Right.
Go on the register. DKMS. Register. Send your swab. Get on there, and you might get a phone call one day to save someone's life. You should do it.
What's it called?
That's my challenge to you.
Was it called DKNS?
DKMS. That's the charity that does it.
Right.
Just go and register. One day you could save someone's life, and it's invaluable. And one day you might need someone else to save your life. That's another thing to think about. So if you're in a hospital one day and you need like a stem cell transplant, and you're hopeful, you're praying to God or whatever God you've got. If you're praying that somebody can donate their stem cells as a match for you, then you've also got to be prepared to do it the other way as well.
Very true. Very true. We can't expect it to go just one way, can we?
No.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on this episode, Chris.
Thank you very much, Tommy. I always love doing these things.
To who you are and where you've come from, but also like the pros and cons of buying in bulk versus cherry picking or hand picking your items. Like, I think we've covered a lot of different topics today. But it is just a pleasure to have a conversation with you and let it sort of go wherever it takes us.
That's it.
So I just want to say thank you very much for coming on. And if you haven't already, anyone who's watching, go and give Carboot Chris a subscription on YouTube, drop him a follow on Instagram, and download his podcast, because his podcast is starting back up again this week. Thursday. What time is the episode as well?
1 o'clock on Thursday.
There we go. 1 o'clock on Thursday. I'll see you all over into that one. And it's been a pleasure. Peace out from me.
See you later.
See you, Bizzles. Bye.